This weekend, I was able to get out to see 2 movies in the theaters, so let's go ahead and talk about those right now. The first film I saw was Nut Job 2, Nutty By Nature. Now this film takes place as a sequel to the 2014 Nut Job animated film. So if you saw that, you'll recognize some of these characters because they do bring them back, and Will Arnett is still voicing the main character of Surly. Now beyond this, I don't recommend anyone see this film. This is 90 minutes of hot animated garbage. I was so bored and just in disbelief about what I was seeing on screen for 90 minutes. The main characters, the plot of the story is they find this nut house, like a nut warehouse, not a crazy place, but like a nut warehouse that has all of these different types of nuts that are just sitting there because that company went out of business. So all of these park critters and creatures are celebrating this failed business because now they get freebies. And then we kind of continue forward from there with that same mentality. The villain in the piece is just this white businessman who's the mayor, and he wants to take the park and turn it into an amusement park. There's no subtlety to their opinions on what like a villain is or anything like that in the real world. This really very much felt like a propaganda piece of garbage. The main villain uses phrases like, we're going to go ahead and get political contributions. The license plate on his car is embezzled, but it's spelled funny. Like, there's no subtlety at all. They're just beating you over the head for 90 minutes about their very different, very peculiar worldview that if somehow businesses fail, then all of a sudden we get free stuff and we don't have to work for anything. It was so ridiculous. One of the main characters is the female portion, the contrast to Surly's character, his love interest, if you will. And she's trying to tell everybody, look, like the warehouse isn't anymore. We don't get free food anymore. So maybe we should just go back to like hunting and gathering like we do because we're animals. And they openly mock and harass her. Like, I was just blown away by the ridiculous nonsense that was written for this film. I was aghast at what I saw on screen. I stayed for the full 90 minutes because I wanted to see if there would be some sort of redeeming quality, like a message at the end of the story. There isn't. They just continue to do their thing, and then they make a point of saying that if you can beat the businessmen and you can watch these failed businesses go down, then there's a way for you to possibly get free stuff later on, and working together, you two can have a park. Don't go see this movie. This film is garbage. It's written poorly. The jokes are poorly timed. You can predict the jokes. They talk about, we got to be careful, and then they'll run into something, or slapstick humor, like they get hurt by something. Like, you can just plot it out. Like, they say this, now that's going to happen. And it's just not well written, and it's just over the top propaganda for kids. This movie was so bad, I was texting my family midway through to let my brother know, don't take your kids to see this film because it's garbage. Now, before you freak out and you're like, you were texting during the movie? What are you doing? Calm down. It's fine. There was 3 other people in the theater. They were about 4 or 5 rows in front of me, and then I was towards the rear of the theater so I could use my phone in the event that I got super bored, which I did. There's nothing redeeming about this film except for the fact that I can now tell you, don't see this movie, waste your money, waste your time at all on this garbage film. Avoid it, go find another movie to watch because Nut Job 2, Nutty By Nature, gets no high fives. Next up, I was able to see Detroit. Now, this is a historical biopic that covers the events that took place in 1967 Detroit, Michigan in the Motel Algiers. It starts off with an animation sequence that shows the migration pattern of people moving into Detroit, Michigan, post the Civil War. Now, for an animation sequence to start the film, I thought was a little misleading because this is a very dramatic, suspenseful film, but I did like the animation after it kind of got going. I was like, okay, this is kind of neat. And it really shows how much business was available in Detroit and why so many people moved there. Now, if you know your history, you do know that at one point in American history, Detroit, Michigan was almost like the Paris of America. It was that much money in the city. There was that much business. There was that much commerce. There was a lot going on at one point. And now we get to look at what took place in one evening in their history. So the film itself is broken into 3 parts. And when I say 3 parts, I don't mean first act, second act, third. I mean 3 separate stories. We get the story about the Detroit riots. We get the story about what happened at the Motel Algiers. And then we get like a court case drama to kind of fill in the blanks that weren't necessarily there from the first 2 segments of the film. Overall, I enjoyed this film. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was tastefully done. It's very sensitive and delicate material to cover, and I thought Kathryn Bigelow, the director, did a great job. Now, if you're watching this film, I need you to understand that this film isn't about the Motel Algiers and the events that took place there. This film is not about the riots of Detroit, Michigan. No. This film is actually about something much higher as far as conversations are concerned, and it's about race relations. And that's why I say it's such a sensitive topic, and Kathryn Bigelow did a great job with this film. This film looks at race relations in America. Now, if you've ever watched the news, even today, or talked to anyone in your neighborhood, friend or family or otherwise, and they've expressed a certain apprehension towards dealing with the police because they feel the police have treated them unfairly, and you've looked at them and gone, well, why would you say that? Like, you're a straight A student, or you are ex-military, you're a veteran, or you're actually working a security job with the police, doing stuff with them and helping them. This film paints in the picture to help answer the why in your mind, if you have it. Now, if you don't have it, then you might just be seeing a movie that you identify with because you already have the answers. But if you've ever looked at the situation and gone, well, why would someone feel that way? This film answers it, and I think it does a very good job answering it. There's 2 characters in the film that almost feel like they're ancillary characters that could be completely removed, and we wouldn't miss a beat because they serve no purpose to the plot of the story. However, the theme of the movie, they're crucial to. And again, the theme being race relations in America. Now, we have 2 people, John Boyega and Anthony Mackie. Again, these 2 people don't do anything to serve the plot, and to be honest, if the movie ended at the Motel Algiers when that scene ends, you could remove them entirely and we wouldn't miss a beat. But because the movie continues on, these 2 are very crucial to the theme that is race relations. You have John Boyega, who's actually a security guard working with the police, and you have Anthony Mackie, who is a veteran who's done 2 terms with the military. So things happen to both of them in a negative light to just kind of paint that picture to explain away the why people might feel a certain way when it comes to their dealings with local law enforcement. If it wasn't for these 2 people who were doing the right thing and have been following what society tells them to do and not seeing that backlash, I don't know that this movie would carry as much weight, because by seeing that backlash on these 2 specific characters, it really drives that message home to answer those questions. And again, to Kathryn Bigelow, you did such a great job with such sensitive material that's still relevant today. I'm going to give you all the high fives. Detroit is a very intense movie. It is very dramatic, and it will possibly pull certain emotions from you if you're watching it and you have any type of relation to anyone who's been in any type of situation to what you see on the big screen. Because it's 2.5 hours, you do need to plan your morning, afternoon, or evening around this film because it is long and it is emotionally taxing. I walked out of the theater a little confused because I thought it was about the events at the motel, but once I realized it's about race relations in America, everything made sense, and I just sat there going, wow, what a great film. So I recommend you see Detroit the movie. It's in theaters now. If you don't want to see it in theaters because of how intense it might be, I understand it. I completely do. But I recommend that you still visit this film once it hits DVD or VOD so you can enjoy it in the privacy of your own home. Detroit, you're getting all the high fives from this guy. Kathryn Bigelow, you're getting high fives too. All the actors and actresses, great job. Detroit the movie, check it out.